something happening. Game. I almost said Game of Thrones. Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 director James Gunn ranks his top 5 comic books movies. Does that mean maybe he is putting some clues for us about maybe some future projects that he's gonna work on? Because it says top 5 comic book movies. Oh, it's already like movies. Wait, let me see.
I just got a bunch of pictures from Warner Brothers vaults of the actual original costumes. I think the costume art's really good, and it's just without frills, because today people have seen a lot of different superhero costumes. So it's how do you...
When they say comic book movies, do they mean like the comic book animations or comic books into movies?
Make it look believable? How do you take this outrageous concept of a guy who flies around and turn him into something real? Hey GQ, I'm James Gunn, and I'm gonna break down my top 5 favorite comic book movies.
All right, let's go.
I think I'm worth listening to about comic book movies simply because I've made so many comic book films and superhero films. I've made at least, oh my gosh, I don't know how many superhero movies I've made at this point, something like 6 or 7. I guess if you include the movies I've produced.
All right, this is the movies he actually made.
How many superhero movies I've made at this point, something like 6 or 7.
Super, I didn't watch. Okay, Guardian of the Galaxy, of course. The Suicide Squad, of course. Peacemaker, and yeah, oh my god, I love every single one of these. Except the Super, I didn't watch it.
But I guess if you include the movies I've produced, like the Avengers movies, then it's really a lot.
Oh, hello. I know, right? Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?
I think coming in at number 5, I'm gonna go with Deadpool. The first Deadpool and the second Deadpool actually are 2 of my favorite comic book movies. They came on the heels of the Guardians film. They were even more of, comedies than the Guardians films are, and they were so well made, so heartfelt and fun, and Ryan Reynolds just kills it.
Ryan Reynolds is like literally born to be Deadpool. And the humor and everything about Deadpool, the first movie when it came out, the best humor in comic book movies ever. I loved it. Loved it so much.
I think Deadpool is a perfect adaptation of a comic book because the comic book is very much tongue-in-cheek, very much breaking the fourth wall all the time, talking to the audience. And I think the movie does that really well, but somehow also keeps it more grounded and gives it a little bit more heart than the comics have.
If you could see me, you'd understand.
Looks on everything.
Looks are everything. You ever heard David Beckham speak? It's like he mouth-sexed a can of helium. Think Ryan Reynolds got this far on his superior acting method?
Love is blind, Wade.
No. You're blind.
Did you just say that he sucked someone?
Ryan's such a funny guy. I think it, along with like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man or Christopher Reeve as Superman, he's one of the all-time great comic book, icons.
I agree. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is
산 거
like...
맞죠? 이제 잘라도 될까요?
Ew.
Number 4, I'm going to say Old Boy. Now, a lot of people don't know that this is a comic book film, but it's based on a manga, and it's a Korean film. It reinvented action, and it really ushered in the new era of Korean cinema, which has continued to this day. They still probably make the best action movies in the world. But as a movie, it's just incredibly cinematic, incredibly colorful, really kind of gross, but also beautiful and shocking at the end. It has a real nice twist at the end, so it works on every level.
Is it just me? This scene reminds me of a scene from the series Daredevil. Yes, Hitman! Daredevil, but the Daredevil scene was recorded from third-person perspective behind the Daredevil guy. Great mind thinks alike. Hey! So yeah, because of the color, also the green color on it.
If there's one scene that sticks out, it's obviously the hallway fight. That was a huge inspiration to me, and you can see our own version of a hallway fight in Guardians 3. Different versions of hallway action fights have been great, whether it's in Old Boy or The Raid, another great action movie. We have one in The Suicide Squad and now in Guardians.
Okay, but he never mentioned Daredevil. I will try to see if it's Daredevil hallway scene fight. Okay. So as you can see, hallway fight scene. It has the same kind of background like Old Boy. But I love this scene. It's a bit slower though, not so many people. If when they make Daredevil, if they make it the new Daredevil that is coming out, if they find a way for the action sequences to resemble this one, they nailed it then. They did the right thing. So good, man. So good because it's like real. You know, it's real. It's all action. And he's like tired, taking a breath, which makes it so human. And the punches sound. Yeah, believable. True, yeah. And it's all shot in one shot, no cuts whatsoever. I got this one. I love it. And the music. All right. You can see the whole scene by yourself as well. It's really cool. I love it, love it, love it, love it.
Sarah, do you think we know each other?
Oh my god.
You tell me.
My third favorite all-time comic book film is A History of Violence.
I didn't watch it.
Directed by David Cronenberg, one of my favorite directors. I love so many of his films, from Dead Ringers to Naked Lunch. But my favorite movie of his is probably A History of Violence. Viggo Mortensen stars in it. He's fantastic. And it's a really amazing movie about a guy who's a former killer who's trying to live this normal life and gets wrapped up in his past. When I saw History of Violence, I also, like Old Boy, I didn't know this was based on anything. I didn't know it was adapted from a novel, or especially didn't know it was adapted from comic books in a graphic novel. I just saw it as a movie itself, so it didn't have to live up to anything. It didn't have to overcome anything. It was just an amazing movie in and of itself that's emotional and passionate, and the violence and the action is shot really well. I mean, I really was influenced by History of Violence. I was influenced by the way that it didn't play like an action movie. You don't look at it and say, oh, that's an action movie. But if you watch the way Cronenberg shoots the action sequences in the movie, it's really spectacular and really deft.
Door!
I think Cronenberg has a way of turning the world just slightly to see something really ugly about it in a beautiful way, if that makes any sense. And History of Violence does that. He just turns this normal American family just slightly, and we see into its soul. And it's not the most beautiful thing in the world. There's this wonderful, of all the wonderful things, there's a wonderful sex scene in the movie between Viggo and his wife on the steps when she discovers, like, starting to discover who he really is. I'm not a big sex scene guy. I don't take sex scenes apart in the same way I take action scenes apart, but I somehow really remember that scene because it was so raw and so passionate and so real. And usually sex scenes just seem like I'm actually usually waiting for them to be done, or they seem like unnecessary or just exploitative, you know? So this wasn't like that at all. This was a real part of the story.
1978!
Excuse me.
1978!
Number 2, I'm gonna have to go with
I
a
never
movie
watched
that
it.
changed my life, and that's Richard Donner's Superman. This one is important to me historically. It's a great movie, but it was also a movie I saw as a kid that affected my life a lot, and I remember seeing it at the Pear Cinema in Manchester, Missouri.
I never
when
watched
was
it.
first
I'm gonna
released.
watch it for
Strangely,
Patreon.
the same exact theater that
I'll watch
Jim
it for
Lee, who
Patreon.
went on to create so many great comics characters, saw it in St. Louis because we're both from there. I was taken up in this movie, and I remember when I was a child, I had seen Star Wars, and that was like such a big magical moment for me. And this was the next big magical movie.
What the hell's that? Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
You know, at the time, they did exactly what we're doing now. They're going through tons and tons of actors to see who captures that spirit. The thing they don't talk about much when they talk about Christopher Reeve, they talk about his pureness.
You really don't, James Gunn, you really don't have to look far. You really don't have to look far to find who's the good Superman. You really don't. You have it like literally in front of you, bro. Look how hypocritical this is, bro.
Actors to see who captures that. Exactly what, you know, at the time, they did exactly what we're doing now. They're going through tons and tons of actors to see who captures that spirit. The thing they don't talk about.
You don't need tons and tons of actors. Let me help you. Let me help you. It's really easy.
Much when they talk about Christopher Reeve, they talk about
I
his
know he wants a
pureness,
younger
his
guy.
hope,
I
his
know, I'm just
goodness.
joking.
They talk about, you know, the way that he plays Clark as being so different from the way he plays Superman and how he can turn that on in an instant. But there's this playfulness about Superman. This, when he's saving a cat, he's got that wry smile.
Bye, Frisky. Long now.
And that is one of the best parts of the movie, is the playfulness of Superman. He enjoys what he's doing. He likes helping human beings, and he likes saving them. They just did the costume from the comics, and they did it very simply, and it works really well. The colors work well. I just got a bunch of pictures from Warner Brothers vaults of the actual original costumes. I think the costume works really good, and it's just without frills, which was easier back then than today, because today people have seen a lot of different superhero costumes. So it's how do you make it look believable? How do you take this outrageous concept of a guy who flies around and turn him into something real? I think that, you know, what we're doing is different. It's its own thing, but I'm definitely influenced by what Donner did with Superman and what Christopher Reeve did with Superman. And Margot Kidder, who's fantastic in the movie. She's really the heart of it in a lot of ways.
Okay, Malix.
The Fortress of Solitude is
Fortress
an
of
amazing
Solitude.
set. It's really like the look of it was created through
Yeah,
those
it
Donner
really looks
Superman
cool.
movies. And I think it was a magical location that wasn't something
Oh,
that we're
yeah,
familiar
these
with, but that was
shirts.
so well done and actually built big sets, and that's influenced me a
Lila
lot. We have some of
Rocket
the
and
biggest sets of
Floor
all
and
time
Thieves.
in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's great to actually have real practical sets for these strange locations, so the, you know, actors and the crew kind of feel what's going on when we're there, and it just looks better than having everything be a total CGI fest.
Please keep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm glad he put this one.
There can't be two
Because
Spider-Man.
let's be honest, this movie is such a depiction for the comic books. Like, they really went with the comic book style and made it into a movie for us. They couldn't have got it more right than that.
Can there?
My favorite superhero movie and my favorite comic book movie is an animated film. It's Into the SpiderVerse. This movie works from start to finish. It does not have a bad beat in it. The action is amazing. The emotion is amazing. The voice acting is incredible. It's well directed, well written.
Agree.
And I just don't think that there's been a better superhero movie than Into the Spider-Verse. I think that, Into the Spider-Verse is truly the first, comic book multiverse movie. They did it in such a balanced and real way. There weren't a lot of plot holes like there are in a lot of these multiverse movies. They thought everything through, and it was just really tight. And if there's one thing I respect a lot in a screenplay, in a film, is to be elegant and to not be doing all this stuff that goes off from the center of the film. And it does it. It stays pointed the entire time.
Are you from another dimension? Like a parallel universe where things are like this universe but different? And you're Spider-Man in that universe, but somehow travel to this universe, but you don't know how?
Wow, that was really just a guess?
Being able to see all these
Spider-Man Across the
different
Spider-Verse will be
Spider-Man
released in
characters,
June
Miles
2nd. Yeah, almost there.
Peter and all the other characters working together in one movie. It was sort of a dream come true for a kid who loved Spider-Man as much as I loved Superman and Batman growing up. I think that Spider-Verse really influenced me in terms of trying to make high-quality animation that is not secondary. There is an advantage to these animated films because you do plan out everything. You kind of draw it as you go along. You don't go on set and film it. It's costing you millions of dollars, and then you come back with the footage, and then you have to see if it works or not. I think it's one of the reasons why there are so many good, tight animated films, and more often than not, they're better than live-action films. Movies that almost made the list were Deadpool 2, Iron Man for sure. V for Vendetta is another one that almost made the list. Spider-Man Homecoming, I think is fantastic. There were a lot of movies I really loved that almost made the list, but I had to choose 5. And so, I may wake up tomorrow and think I made an enormous mistake that I can't take back.
Can you just give us a quick drop of the list with your movies in it?
But I can't, they're like, my movies are like my children. So I can't say one that I like better than the other. I mean, listen, with Guardians 1, I was proud of how we did something that was considered pretty outlandish at the time, but did it in a mainstream way that spoke to audiences all over the world. That was a big accomplishment for me. For the second movie, I was really proud of how, we really told this story about a, adoptive father and his son, and how that came together, and how many people have written me over the years saying, I finally forgive my stepfather for all this, whatever they put me through. It's changed people's relationships with their family members. For the Suicide Squad, we really took big risks and big swings and did ridiculous things that I thought was a much more chaotic approach to cinema, and I learned a lot through that, and I personally learned a lot through how to use a camera on that film. And then for Guardians 3, I'm just really proud of the way that we, really gave each of these characters the dignity they deserve and gave them the ending they deserve.
Yeah.
All right, GQ, thank you
ending.
very much. These were my...
Every time I say the ending they deserve, I just don't like things that work well and beloved characters for people to say they're never gonna be or appear anymore on your screen. Take 20 years, I don't care, but I just don't want to know that it's never gonna happen again. I hate endings, but this was fun.
Top 5 favorite comic book movies. They all might change tomorrow, who knows? But thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.
See ya, bye-bye.
Madam, I'm afraid that consuming sturgeon fish is not allowed in this area.